This is day 10 of 33 days with me and in my series called Metamorphosis. So we are almost a third of the way through and just looking over what I've offered in the last 9 days. It's amazing to see the range of it. Everything from guided meditation to talking about sacred sexuality yesterday with Raphael. So this range, this depth, really represents our depth and range as sacred humans. We have this range. We're not just about one area. We're not just about our spirituality. We're also about our emotionality and our sociability and how we relate with money and how we relate with animals and the environment. And we're also about our physicality. So today I wanted to focus on the ascension process in terms of how it relates with the physical body. And this is the hot topic. People really love to share and talk about their ascension body symptoms. Maybe it feels safer than sharing about some of the other aspects, such as the emotional reactions and upheavals and changes, or even the spiritual experiences or awakenings. Of course, having a physical body is such a unifying aspect of being human. All of us chose this vessel, this human body vessel, to be here. And then we chose to ascend with it. So to have it come with us as our consciousness, as our higher self consciousness is coming into our bodies, choosing to have our body come with us into these altered states of fourth dimensional consciousness and higher. So this is what feels so new, is bringing the body with us. And I have really been offered that that's what this is about. Some people offer that no, we don't take our bodies with us to New Earth when we ascend, and that feels more to me like a kind of a heaven picture, a more exoteric picture of leaving the body. You know, some of these altered states, we could call them, were previously only experienced when we astral projected or when we had a near-death experience. And yet, with the energies that are available and the upgrading that is happening to us, we can now experience these states in our body. And what I've been offered actually is that sometimes it's even more impactful to us when our body is with us, when we're in our body, because I believe that's because it really grounds the experience in for us. So we don't leave in order to have it. We're in here having it. And I feel like there's some template for this in some other timelines, maybe perhaps the Lemurians or in Atlantis in its golden age. Yet we're doing this now, in this now, coming out of 3D reality for so many years, choosing to completely fuse our consciousness to our bodies, to believe that we are our bodies and nothing else. So disconnecting from spirit, from our soul consciousness, and just we are this body. 5 sense reality filtering is another way that you can feel this, you know. So what is real in the 3D way of seeing it is what we can see, what we can touch, what we can hear, what we can smell. And I'm missing one of them. But the basic sense is that this is the way we perceive reality, and anything beyond this is not real. So obviously a huge shift and awakening starts happening as things begin happening to you that are beyond what you can see or hear. hear or touch or smell. The beyond is the clairs, right? The clairs kicking in on all levels. And you can start to see beyond, you can hear beyond, you can even smell beyond, you can know beyond what you've been conditioned in 3D, that just what you see is. The visible light spectrum is so narrow, it's so small. And one of the most exciting things about ascension is that this will start to broaden and expand, not just what our third eyes can see, but what our physical eyes can see. It feels like our physical eyes are really going to shift and change. The rods and cones of our eyes will expand greatly. So all of this body shifting going on, this is, I've been offered, every living cell in our body is going through this transition to crystalline, to this higher vibrational frequency. And, you know, our body being the most dense, dense is no judgment, that's just a vibrational readout. The body has needed to be the densest aspect of us here in order to anchor us here. Most of our anchoring, I believe, has come through our body. A lot of it has come through our relationships. A lot of our 3D anchoring is fortified by the relationships that we choose. It's either fortified into 3D or it's anchored into something higher. We talked about that yesterday, Raphael and I. So the body, though, I believe provides this anchoring to 3D, and it's also why I think we have so many issues with it in terms of illness and disease. There's lots of reasons why. Another reason that we have illness and disease, of course, is the emotional wounding, traumas, things that are undigested in our emotional bodies that then manifest physically. And I actually feel that that's the #1 reason for illness and disease and injury. That, you know, when I say emotional body, I'm including the soul in that. I'm including the karmic traumas or the soul traumas in the metasoul that are there. Excuse me. That are manifesting that way. So as this manifestation of emotional wounding happens, then the disease happens and the illnesses. And then you add on top of that the ascension process. So the common way of feeling this is that this ascension process is bringing up a lot of symptoms for me. And people will list all of these symptoms that they're experiencing. Like I said, they will very eagerly list all of the symptoms. And I think also part of that, when I feel that, that sharing also comes from part of them that I think is afraid, of course, of what's happening. Why do I have ringing in my ears, you know, for days and days and days? And why every time I get out of bed do I feel dizzy, like I'm going to fall down? Why am I getting vertigo experiences? Why do I have this intense tension in my head area, these headaches, you know, that are beyond migraines, and neck and shoulder tension, and this why can be answered by ascension for them. So it's ascension becomes the kind of the default. So what I want to bring today is a different way to look at this. So, and feel this. This is a soulful heart reframe. And that's what we like to do, is kind of take something and then turn it upside down to have you look at it differently. So if we go back to this sense of parts of us that I've been offering these last 9 days is really foundational to what we're offering with Soulful Heart, then we look at how anything happening in the body is connected to the emotional body, is connected to parts of us. So let's say there is a reality of getting a headache, for example, as the pituitary glands and the pineal glands start activating, there's a strain and a tension. So let's say that's a common thing. We would then we would have you feel, how are parts of me relating to this happening to me? Are they in tension and resistance about it? Are they in acceptance about it? Are they scared? What is actually causing the pain? Because on one level these changes are happening and you could say they cause tension, and yet we also feel that pain is resistance. So it's where is there resistance in part of me to this process? For example, when we're looking at something like these glands opening, we're looking at third eye, sixth chakra access, we're looking at the crown chakra popping, we're activating some things in this process that will change the way that you feel and see reality, and that will also lift veils for you, where you'll start to remember things from other timelines, and a lot of those things are not very pleasant, and in fact can be quite traumatic and difficult to ingest and digest. So the cosmic forces, the divine, the universe, is saying these glands need to be activated. And then there can be parts of us, especially the protector, that can come in and say, no, I'm not ready for that. One of the things I think happens sometimes with head and neck tension is the protector actually puts a helmet on, or some kind of covering over the neck and the head and shoulder area in particular. And that can be felt as, okay, this is just an ascension symptom, but it could also be part of you, a protective part of you, it feels self-lovingly trying to ward off some of these energies. So that could be a source of tension. I'm just using that as a possibility. I'm not saying that all head and neck tension is from that, but that can be a cause. The other thing that can happen is, as this tension builds, tension is resistance, right? On some level it's resistance. So, for example, I'll give you how I feel through this. When I get tension, particularly in my right side, I ask a bunch of questions. That's my first response, not, this is just ascension, it'll go away eventually, I'll just be with it. I ask a lot of questions. This tension, is it a part of me that needs my attention? Sometimes masculine parts can show up on the right side of the body. Gatekeepers, that I will be talking about soon in this series, can really energize in the right side of the body. The right side of the body is the masculine side, and the left side is the feminine energies. Usually, the chakras and the energy flow of our bodies is really shifting. That's something I'm noticing in energy healing work. So more about that to come, because I don't have clarities about that yet, just that everything's shifting. However, back to the example I was giving. So this right side tension, is this part of me? That's what I ask myself when I check in with the parts that I'm connecting with. Is it a new metasoul aspect, a new aspect from another timeline? It's kind of energizing on my right side, and I check in around that. Is this tension from someone else? And what I find, for me lately anyway, going into session space more often, is that that's often the masculine parts of other people that are maybe gripping here. It's sort of, I felt it a couple times, kind of like, Jelelle, are you listening to me? And it's not evil, it's not dark, it's just, are you listening? And there's a grip. And so I check in and I ask that part of the person to release that energy. I am listening. I do feel you. I do understand what you mean. I believe that entities, that people call entities, and dark energies and archons, and they have so much tension and fear around these energies, and them manifesting in the body and attacking, that's the common language, attacking and implanting and I'm amping my energy because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear there. And in that fear, it actually draws more of the same. So, you know, someone may hear me say, I have tension right here, and they may say, oh, you're being attacked. Well, that's one way to feel it, but I feel it more like, what wants my attention and why? Give it love, compassion. It lets go. Every time, it lets go. It doesn't actually want to attack me or you. It wants your attention. And whether it's a part, whether it's a darker energy, whatever it is, what that really wants is love and compassion. And ultimately, when I do my galactic love ambassador work that I wrote about in my book, Bliss Mess, which I haven't talked about much in this series yet, but I will. I go in with a lot of love. I don't go in as a warrior. I don't go in to fight battles. I go into situations where front lines are going on, and I offer compassion and love to them and forgiveness. And I can be this not from some transcended place, but because I've offered that love to myself and parts of me. So let's extend that one for a moment. The other thing to be examined and felt whenever it comes to the body is, what is your relationship to your body, and how do your parts feel about it? I've talked before about an inner punisher energy. The inner punisher judges the body, almost always, especially for women. And it's harsh about that judgment, it's conditional about that judgment, it evaluates weight and physical appearance and qualification and worth, and it can be really harsh. I know this one because I had this for years, and I got that templating from my birth mother, who also had a very harsh punisher about her physical appearance. This, of course, is supported in our 3D culture, especially for women, that assesses worth based on outward appearance instead of inner glow. So we get a lot of conditioning in this. We get a lot of training. You could even say programming in this. And so part of us relates to our bodies from this filter. Even if you have really unanchored from 3D around this one, I can almost guarantee there is a part of you that relates to your body in an antagonistic way on some level. That feels, even the ascension symptoms are something maybe to be conquered, or that they come from some kind of punishment from the world or God or the universe. So this is another question to ask, is how am I relating with what's happening to my body, and which parts of me are relating with it? And the other piece is there a sense of self-lovingness around what's happening with the body? Because this also, if there's not, can cause even more tension, can amplify whatever's going on in the body to a whole nother degree, and make it that much more challenging to flow with whatever's going on. So let me say that for me, when an ascension body something comes up, it's a ground of curiosity. It's a ground of interest to me, even if it causes discomfort. This can totally be parallel to the emotional body, right? It's the same as feelings. If an uncomfortable feeling comes up, how do you relate with it? Do you go in an investigation, what I call becoming your own love detective? Or is there more resistance to the feeling, or the body reaction? The feelings and body manifestations are totally tied. So you can learn a lot in how you respond to what's going on with your body. It's probably the same way that parts of you respond to what's going on in your emotional body as well. So these are some of the questions to ask yourself when it comes to ascension body symptoms. You see why, for me, there aren't easy answers here. There isn't one answer that fits everybody. There's actually more an investigation that it calls you to start doing and being with yourself, to find out and explore and discover what's actually going on. I think the upgrading process is also meant to, the upgrading of the body is meant to purify. And so there's a detox process that's very real, and a cleansing. And the detox is really detoxification of all the toxicities that we have taken into our bodies. From 3D, the way 3D food is made and produced and consumed, and the energy we've taken in from that. So detoxifying ourselves from all of that is a very big deal. And also, maybe, for example, I've shared that I was a smoker when I was started at 17, and I smoked off and on for about 15 years. And I quit once I started working with parts. That was the way that I stopped doing that, because I could feel why. And it was very interesting to go into that investigation. So here's another example. If you are a smoker, if you drink, if you want to become vegetarian, you have these desires for making changes. You can feel how parts of you relate to smoking. How do parts relate to alcohol? How do parts relate to eating meat? And it's not the answers you think necessarily. It goes much deeper and is way more interesting. For example, with the smoking, I actually brought that up because I've experienced cellular clearing of the smoking. I've actually experienced my cells clearing it out even 15 years later. So that's been an aspect of ascension too, is that the cells need to clear out whatever toxicities have been brought in. And this can go back to even birth. I felt that as well. Birth detoxification. So it goes pretty deep that way. But back to these other eating or smoking or that kind of thing that you're feeling that you want to really, as part of your soul awakening and as part of self-worth, wanting to give up and move into something new. So for me, smoking was actually, there's a nicotine addiction on a 3D physical level, but it was actually about getting space to myself, because I would go outside and have a cigarette, and I would go into these sort of etheric journeys. I didn't realize that's what they were until I was awakened. But I would talk to people and have conversations with their higher selves without even realizing that's what I was doing. That's the work I do now. But smoking gave me a space to myself. It gave me a space to feel myself. And once I really got that, I could give my parts that space without smoking. That was just, when I was working full time and a lot of anxiety and stress and no space to myself, and a young daughter at the time. So I started learning how to give my parts space and to feel them, and to let my soul gifts start expanding and exploring and serving others. So that met that need. And then the cigarette smoking just dropped off. So this is what's so interesting about looking at it and feeling it from this way. It's not willpower, it's heart exploration and feeling. So I also want to mention, and I'll share it in the description, that probably one of my most popular guided meditations is one that I did with Mother Mary, and It offers just really soothing energies. It's like a bubble bath for the body and the soul. Most people tell me they cannot stay awake during it, and that's fine. Anything that helps you get into a more restful state is good. So I will share that. That, I believe, helps release some of the tension, which again is sometimes about attention around surrendering to the process. For parts of us, it's really understandable. Physical pain and discomfort means something is wrong, usually. So for parts of us to feel that instead, okay, this is part of a process, and yet I can negotiate this. I can, if I release some of this tension and I'm more trusting, some of these things will move. They definitely move quicker if we have our parts with us. And I do feel that in time there will be less and less of this going on too, as our vibration is just higher and higher. And that's more natural for us, and there's less in our lives, or perhaps in your life, that is a countering energy to what you really want. So less dissonance, more resonance inside also comes out for the body as well and impacts the body. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today, and I welcome your comments and questions, and I'll respond to them. Thank you for joining me.